Welcome to the Goody Room, your one-stop shop for everything movies, TV, and more. We know you want the goodies. Welcome back to the Goody Room. I'm your host, Matt the Nachos. With me always is my Padawan, my Anakin Skywalker to my Obi-Wan Kenobi, Frankie Rock. How are you doing, Frank?
I don't like that. I don't like that intro. Do it again.
Wait, we've already hit the record button and we're off and running.
I want to redo. Let the record show that I do not accept the title of Anakin Skywalker.
I mean, you don't accept the title of Jedi Master either. So you're on this council, but you don't have the role or title of Master.
I'm gonna light you on fire someday. like Obi-Wan did to Anakin, he lit him on fire. I would do that to you. It's gonna be like a what if Star Wars where Anakin doesn't become Darth Vader. It's gonna be you that catches on fire.
Well, if it happens, it happens. But
I guess so, right?
Welcome into the Goody Room here. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Every little comment you like, it helps us out, helps the algorithm. Subscribing keeps you updated when we're releasing these new episodes. Because, it's a monthly podcast. So, we don't really have a set schedule. So subscribe so you know when we're dropping new goodies.
That's right. And also we're still waiting on that lunch from our unnamed sponsor. So chop chop.
You know what? He can redeem himself, with maybe Godzilla -1 when that comes out. Maybe, we're going to talk about it later. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, there's lots of, we are cheap, easy dates.
The opportunities really are endless with us.
But I kind of hinted to what the episode here is about. We got a full streamer botch. We're gonna talk about Shogun, 3-Body Problem, Baby Reindeer, Fallout, and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which just released, and Frank and I both got an opportunity to go see it. Spoiler: it is amazing.
It is. It's just great. Like, I love the movie. I can't wait to watch it again.
Yes. And we will be buying day one. Sponsor, hint, hint.
Hint, 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 hint. A hinty hint.
All right. Well, Frank, anything to add before we get into it?
No. We're going to be coming fast and furious with this stream and botch tonight. Like, when you were reading off the list before we started recording, I was like, oh, yeah, I did watch that. Oh, yeah, I did watch that. So, no time like the present. Let's get rolling.
Yeah, heavy hitters tonight. All right, rolling into it, stream or botch. And first up, we have Shogun. So, Frank, you watched this. I know you really enjoyed it. I was kind of whatever about it. I originally was super hyped, but, go ahead. I want you to start kick it off here with your thoughts.
This is the reason why I got Hulu back. I wanted to watch this show. Shogun is essentially about a English ship that basically shipwrecks off of Japan, and the English haven't really discovered Japan yet. So they're the first people to arrive there, and it quickly gets Game of Thrones real quickly. It's a power struggle. The main guy, John Blackthorne, gets swept up in it, and he basically starts assimilating into the Japanese culture. And between, I think it was 10 episodes, from episode 1 to see where he ends up in episode 10, it's just crazy knowing like where he started and how he ends up within the Japan community, or the family he's essentially brought into. Not only that, we get to just see all the different lords that are trying to get the title of Shogun and take over. And they're obviously, everybody has their own agenda. There's a lot of stabbing in the back. There's a lot of shocking moments. I thought it was really well done. Before watching the show, really had no interest of ever traveling to Japan. Now I kind of want to go to Japan because it's shot so beautifully. And I really feel like it was immersive. And part of the thing, Matt, that I thought helped with that immersion was I would say 98% of this show is in Japanese and is subtitled.
Yeah, I really, the scenes, the costume design, everything's awesome. I mean, it's really stunning, what they did with this show. Um, for me, we always joke about it, like not enough
Not
action.
enough action.
But like they're like, so Shogun, like what basically, like Shogun, what it really is that they at once were all at war, all these lords trying to have control of like the country, right? And they came under one, king, emperor, whatever you want to call him, and he passed away. And before he passed away, he gave birth to an heir. But this heir is like, what, like Frank? He's like 10.
He's maybe 8 to 10. He's grade school.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to write in cursive yet. We'll just put it that way.
Right. Right. So the king emperor, he created this council of regents, which is like 5 or 6 of these lords throughout the land, and they are supposed to like keep like peace throughout the realm. Well, of course, the majority of them don't like the one lord, and that's really what it is. It's like everyone versus him, right? Who ends up taking in the Englishmen, right?
Right.
And
And the Lord, just a side note here, he's like the smartest guy. Like he's the guy in Japan. Like this guy, he just is like very calm and casual. He's like, I got a plan. You know.
yeah, and that's why I feel like they were threatened by him, right? Is because actually, he had the closest, I think, friendship with the former emperor.
Right.
They even show like some scenes where they're talking and stuff like that. But the I don't know what the proper term is, but the woman that ends up giving birth to the heir, she like doesn't like Toranaga is what his name, the Lord's
Right.
name. She doesn't like him, so she is trying to conspire and get all these lords to commit Shogun, which is like back when they were all fighting against each other for like complete control.
Right, and that's the title. If you want complete control, you would be the Shogun. And Matt brought up how this girl who gave birth to the heir is conspiring against Toranaga, and they're just like any well-written show or of this type of style of show where there's like political drama and whatnot. There's always some side story of what happened, and you know and they always give good reasons. It's like, yeah, I would probably hate Toranaga too if I was on her side of things, and I would be conspiring as well. I think who steals the show is essentially John Blackthorne is the Englishman who lands in Japan and at first doesn't speak any Japanese. Well, the Portuguese had landed there, years and years prior, and they taught, they brought Catholicism to Japan and taught many of the natives English. And the girl Mariko, who is the translator for John Blackthorne, I don't know who this actress is. She's probably like I thought was the standout character. Even though Toranaga did awesome, the guy who played everybody does a great job. Like there's really
He's great in everything though. Like he's
a great
Japanese guy that they cast in like all those roles.
Right. We knew he was going to do a heck of a performance, but like the girl who plays Mariko, that her character, I just love the scenes with her character and Blackthorne. And it's like, obviously, guys, they go into the whole forbidden love aspect of it, and her husband thought he was dead. Turns out he's not. He's back, and he's got not one, but probably 100 chips on his shoulder for various reasons. It got a little troublesome trying to keep like, okay, why is he mad in this episode? But
yeah, I agree. She is the best part of I think of the show. Like I thought she was the best character and really a great actress, for what she was doing in that.
A lot of people have been, and I think you're of this camp. I know my dad is of this camp. They weren't impressed with the final episode because without any spoilers, they subvert your expectations. They think that you're going, they're going to go right, but they end up going left. And I actually really enjoyed how they, basically portrayed what happens. But I also understand why certain people might be of the mindset of not enough action.
Yeah, especially because it really was supposed to be just a limited series, so meaning one season. Now they're talking about doing season two. And
Yeah,
I'm just
the main guy signed on to do another season.
yeah.
It's just like I get, and the book it's based off is 1,500 pages. So I would imagine there's more that they can do, but like I also liked it so much. Do we need more? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so like that was kind of like my thing. And but yeah, like I just felt like they kept just hanging you on. You're waiting for more and more to happen. I just felt like you never got that like ultimate satisfaction from spending all this time watching all these episodes. Like the show was good, but I think I had high expectations for it, right? And
Yeah.
we talk about this too. When you go into things, you have super high expectations. Most of the time, it's going to disappoint, right? When you go in with no expectations, it ends up being like really awesome.
So I think also the difference between why my expectations kind of were in check was I waited to start. You started watching the show right as the episodes were coming out, right? And you were going week by week.
Yep.
I started watching when there was only a week or two left. Like I think I only had to wait like 1 week to see the final episode, and I got all caught up. And I knocked them out. So like in a 2 week period, I had watched this show, and I don't know if my expectations were high. I was just excited just to see how it all was going to wrap up. But I
Hmm.
think if I was like in your situation, because I do that all the time I used to do that with Game of Thrones. I do with the House of Dragons. Like my theories and expectations are just unrealistic. They're just not going to be met. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a stream for me. Like,
Right.
I still think it's worth watching. Just don't go into it maybe with like super high expectations. I know a lot of people really did like the show and thought it was the best show ever made. I'm not in that camp, but I still think it's worth watching.
I thought it was very good. I loved it. I honestly would rewatch it. I would probably not right away, but within a year or so, I might put it back on again. I wouldn't say it's the best show ever made. I would say it's one of the, for me, I enjoy one of the shows that I enjoyed a lot. But we've been talking about like best show ever made a couple times throughout the last couple episodes. I don't know if there is the best show ever made. Maybe that could be like a Goody Room Council the one night. Like we finally put the final word. What's the best show of all time?
Yeah, because what we say is law. None of your
That's
opinions.
right. It does what it's told. It does what it's told.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get in the next one. So, up next here on the list is Three Body Problems. So this is a Netflix show. You can go and watch it right now. All episodes are up. But basically, I'm gonna try my best to describe this. And Frank, please come in and help as
Well,
needed.
if can I kick this one off?
Go right ahead. Go ahead. It's just the Frank show tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the Frank show, Matt. Just I want you to get up out of your seat, go out that door, and close it, and I'll take care of business here. Anyway, so I this was about January where I saw the trailer for this show coming out, and it was heavily marketed as the next show from the creators of Game of Thrones. And these guys finally broke away from HBO, so they're trying to they're trying to do other things, which is great. I wouldn't say this was on the same level of Game of Thrones, but I thought it was still very much so worth everybody's time. But I found out that it was based off a book series, so I thought, oh, I will read the first book. And basically, it was like a 350-page book, and for the first 200 pages, I had no idea what was going on. I understood, like, I was understanding it, but the narrative was not giving you any type of information about what the big grand thing scheme or whatever was going on. I would come out of the back room, after I read, my wife would be like, "Do you understand what's happening yet?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea. I have no idea." Not so much the case of this show. They do leave you in the dark for, I would say, the first episode or two, but after a while, they start really just giving you the answers.
Yeah, and so like that's what actually I really liked about it. Like there was a lot of mystery going on with the show. You got, it's one of those shows, and I personally think this is always the best way to do a show where you're bouncing back and forth between like past and present, and you're getting those little like breadcrumbs as you move along. But basically, three body problem. The name comes from the problem that these aliens, these extraterrestrials, they're dealing with. And what is it like? It's like the three suns or moons or
They're
whatever.
on a planet that's being orbited by three suns, and it really is making it. They're having a bad time. They're on this planet. We'll
Yeah.
just say that.
So like everyone has like you could see it in the poster for the show. Like they're
Right.
wearing these like futuristic helmets, right? And basically what it is they're trying to test the intelligence of these different scientists to see who can actually tell what problem they're dealing with. And the ones that do get put into like the secret society, like,
It's a
and
cult. Like it's a full out religion.
yeah, it's a cult. Like they're truly just they've given up on the human race. They can't wait for these aliens to get here, and they're what, like 400 years away. Like
Yeah, they know the aliens are coming. They won't be here until like multiple generations after, but the aliens are basically coming to Earth, and this doesn't really spoil it. I mean, there's so much I could tell you. I could basically give you like, anyway, it doesn't matter. You're listening, so just buckle up. Um, they're coming because they're tired of dealing with the three suns on their planet, and they're like, oh, this Earth only has one sun, and they don't seem to be having the same issue. So we're just going to go over there and take it. And it's slowly revealed that the aliens have been in contact with this cult, and it's revealed also that the people, the humans that are not in the cult, very much so, I would say it's revealed like it's the third world order or whatever you want to call it. The secret government is starting to pull the strings like, hey, we don't like this whole alien people coming, so we got to do our best to stop this. And they're recruiting these top scientists from everywhere to basically figure this thing out.
yeah, and I don't think that really spoils it. I
Yeah,
mean, it's literally, if you were to Google what the show is about, that's literally what it would probably say. I mean,
right.
we just gave the overall premise. There's so much more to it, like that they
It's
go in.
deep.
Yeah, like it's deep. I personally can't wait for the second season of this. I was a little disappointed when it ended. Like I wanted more.
So it's interesting because it was like 8 episodes long, and about episodes 5 or 6, that's what the scene with the boat, which is pretty vague enough. Matt, you know what I'm talking about. That's the end of book 1. And then we got like 3 more episodes. And I was just like, oh, and I have the second book upstairs. I just haven't gotten to it yet because it's, the first one was complicated and you got to put your smarty pants on to read. And I don't know if I'm ready for the second one yet. But seeing what I would imagine would be the last 3 episodes would be probably the beginning of the second book. I am in. I can't wait. I thought the way that it ended, it wasn't like a banger of a finale, but it was one of those finales where like you could see where everything was gonna go next, and it just kind of drops you off, and you're just like, well, what the heck? I need it now. you know?
Yeah, in that last episode, there was a little bit of a jump scare for me. It was like late at night, and I was sitting there like watching it all into this show, and like this scene happened. I was just woo. And I told Frank about it, and I don't know if like did you see what I was talking about?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, and again, we're gonna keep it vague for our audience. Was it the scene on the airplane?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will tell you this though. There was a scene in that episode where I jumped, but it wasn't the scene on the airplane. It was the car crash scene.
yeah. I remember you texting me about that, and I was like, nah, that one didn't get me.
They did that scene really well. Like it was kind of very reminiscent of the train scene from Inception, where the train just comes down the street. You're just like, oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's a stream for me, Frank. What say you?
Absolutely a stream. Probably going to read the second book this summer once I mentally prepare for it. I look forward to season 2. And the cast too. I feel like the cast is outstanding, and same with Shogun. Like just great cast all around. And I'm that's going to be a theme for another show, but I won't that we're going to talk about tonight. But yes, stream 3 Body Problem for sure.
Up next, we have another Netflix show, actually, Baby Reindeer. So, Baby Reindeer is a little bit of like a stalker show, and it took me a while to kind of really put this one on because like I watch a lot of like documentaries on like different crimes and stalkers, and there's been a lot of those over the last couple of years, especially on Netflix. And so I was like, I'm kind of like a little bit drained from this. Well, it kept popping up on Netflix like top 10 like TV shows to watch, and I kept seeing all these things and online about it. And I just said, you know what? Finally, I just like I'm just gonna put it on. So I put it on, and I and it was just as crazy as like a lot of the social media posts were saying. Every time I thought like there was like that was it, there was more to reveal, and it just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And the crazy part about it is that it is based on a true story. Now, how much of it is based off of that story, I'm not sure. It's actually something I wanted to kind of look up, and I never really got a chance to. I did read like a lot of things online about it that this woman in real life was doing, and some of the things that the gentleman in the show even was dealing with. But just a crazy overall story. So basically, this guy, he's trying to become a comedian. He's trying to live out his dream. He's not really that funny, and to make ends meet, he's a bartender. And this woman walks in, looking like she's having a bad day, and just trying to be a genuine person. He goes over, tries to be nice. Uh, Offers to buy her drink, says it's on the house, whatever. And that's like her ticket in. And she just starts showing up every day, starts telling him how she's a lawyer and she knows all these big, important people. And it just goes on and on and on and on until it really gets out of control. He her as like the stalker. It's more, I think, about the gentleman himself and like just what he's going through and like a lot of things that he's dealing with, and that really kind of feeds into even some of the things that she ends up like doing, and like her letting her into his life.
I would say that, and I watched the show too. By the end of the show, there's an episode, I don't know which one it is, where like it's the big information dump episode. And I texted you and I said, wow, lots and lots to unpack there. And, a lot of trauma, whether or not how true the trauma is, or if that's the exaggerated point, or no, that happened, it's just like, wow. I am on, a different mindset of the show. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. I do not think it is as good as social media says it was. No, it's not because there wasn't enough action in it. The story really wasn't, I finished it, but it wasn't like I was like, oh, can't wait I got to get home from work so I can finish Baby Reindeer or whatever. I did like that the episodes were short, and it was like I think only like 6 or 7 episodes, and each episode was only like a half hour. So you could do this in an afternoon if you have the time. But I don't know. The only excuse me, the only reason I finished is I was just a little curious just to see how things wrapped up, and it was short enough that I was like, okay, I'll watch it versus just going and reading about it, which I sometimes do. I honestly would say this is a botch for me, though. it wasn't for me. I know a lot of people like it, and I'm kind of like a minority in that opinion, but it didn't do it for me.
I mean, and I can honestly, I can see that. I almost didn't watch it.
Right.
I was like I said, I was not interested. But when I put it on, I got caught up in the story, kind of like I do with a lot of those like documentaries. What was like American Nightmare? That's what it reminded me of. It was just
Yeah,
it
yeah.
just kept getting like revealed, like, and it just kept getting like how much crazier could this story get? And
And
that's what I thought about it.
that's what kept me going with it too a little bit, but it wasn't like when I was watching or reading or watching Gone Girl for the first time, where when they dropped the next revelation where my mind was literally shattering. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is a thing now. All right, what will happen next? I will say I did end up watching because you were to talk about it. Netflix, when this first hit, was anytime you logged in, it was shoving it down your throat like must watch Baby Reindeer. And I know a lot of people online were talking about it. A few coworkers were talking about it. The hype got to me. I just was curious. I wanted to know what the hype was about, and I'm glad I watched it, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I definitely understand. I just actually checked Netflix, and it's number 3 in their top TV shows right now. So it's still in the top 10, which is
And
crazy.
it's been like what has to be a month by this point that it's been out.
It's been out for a little while. I would say it's a stream. I would definitely give it a recommend. So this is the first one, and this doesn't happen a whole lot. But where Frank and I are on opposite sides of the table, so I am going to challenge you, the people,
The people.
to watch this show and tell us what your thoughts are. Are you on side Nachos or side Padawan?
Oh God, I hate you. Yeah, please do. Settle this. It's not like, you doing this won't change my opinion, but I'm just curious to see what other people are thinking. I want to know if I'm truly a minority in this opinion, or if not, if you want to say that I'm wrong, fine. But at the end of the day, I've watched it. It's done. I'm already on to the next show, which, whatever.
I mean, I think it's good. People get to see that we don't always agree on some of
Right.
these things, right? Guys, we have our own opinions too.
And look at that. Look at that. We are disagreeing on something. And look how casual we're keeping. And we're still friends. And no one's, canceling the other people or whatever. Like, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me.
Well, there you go. So let us know what you think and what side you're on. Is it a stream or botch for you? All right. Next up, Fallout. So this was on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch this. Frank, what is this? This is based off of the video game. Did you ever play the video game?
Okay. So actually, yeah, I think it was Fallout 4. And I played it because it's the same studio that did Skyrim. And I love Skyrim. In fact, I won't play Skyrim anymore because I get too lost in it and I got too many things to do. And so I thought, okay, I'll try this because they said it was Skyrim with guns. I was like, oh great. And I played it. I wasn't in love with it. I'm glad I played it. I thought it was great. I would recommend Fallout 4. I thought it was a pretty good game. Um, so I was excited to see how they adapted Fallout to a TV show. And essentially, what happens is this takes place, I don't know, however many years after they dropped the nuclear. The world basically went to nuclear war, and they dropped the bomb. And it's about the people who have survived this nuclear holocaust and are basically living in this post-apocalyptic world. But before, and this is the aesthetic of the show was probably my favorite thing. I know I'm jumping around, but the world in which was Bond was a futuristic 1950s setting. So it basically, if the world had ended and the technology didn't go beyond the 1950s. So I thought that was an interesting idea, and that's how it was in the games too. But basically, there's these people down living in a vault which was like a fallout shelter that people could go to, and I think they could pay to get in. And the more you paid, the nicer the vault you were in.
Yeah,
And
the super rich, they call them the vaulties because
the
they live
vaulties.
underground, right? But everyone who doesn't live in the vault, he's living in the real world. Like and you could see it. Imagine like you living in the vault for like growing up, being born there, and living in like that life. So these people like they don't know what the real world is like,
Sure.
right? They are just they think everyone's nice to each other. They're like, oh, I'm gonna bring society back to it's like
They're
you
running around saying "okie dokie" to each other. Like this is the type of environment they're living in.
yeah, like listening to show tunes, right? Like if you're
Oh my gosh.
Demolition Man, the Vaulties are like the future in Demolition Man. Like,
I gotta say, the music they played throughout the show, especially when the action did pick up, and it was like, it's like tiptoe through the window, and there's just all the carnage is like going on. That that is just great juxtaposition. And again, I'm jumping around. Sorry.
yeah, so basically, what happens is one of the vaults gets overtaken or broken into by people from the surface, and these vaulties grow up like not thinking anybody's like living up there, right? Like a lot of shows, post-apocalyptic shows, right?
They
It's
think they're the last ones.
yeah, it's the tale as old as time,
Sure.
right? So these surface dwellers they break into the vault and they kidnap I don't know what the leader, I forget what they're called, but they end up like kidnapping him.
The main dude, we'll call
Yeah,
him. He's the head guy.
he's the head guy, right?
He's the head guy. He's the boss.
So they end up kidnapping him. Well, his daughter wants to go save him, so she ventures outside the vault as well too. So she's experiencing you know real life what people have been living with for all these years, post this fallout, and kind of learning the truth, which a lot of what they've been taught is a lie.
Right.
And so she's kind of learning all this for the first time. So um, you know basically that's how the show goes, and you meet a lot of cool characters around there. Like I forget the guy's name, but he was like a Hollywood star. And
Oh, so and that I'm glad you brought him up. Walton Goggins is the actor's name. I have seen this guy in so many different things, and he always plays like the most absurd, unique characters. And Fallout is no exception. This is a character only this actor could like. He is the only actor that could play this role. Like they must have like wrote it specifically for tailored it for him because it just works. And he to me had the most interest because he was the like Matt was saying, this big Hollywood actor back before the bombs dropped. And it's like there's a whole mystery on what was going on back then, how it ties to the present, how he has survived this long.
exactly, because it's
Yeah.
been years,
Like
decades.
hundreds of years.
I think it was like 200 because he talks to another. He basically has become what they call a ghoul, and they
He
like
looks like a zombie.
yeah, he looks like a zombie. He like self heals, but they require like a certain like formula or like antidote to like really keep them from turning into like these crazy zombies. And so like I remember the scene where he was talking to one, and he's like, "Oh, you've been at this a long time, like 200 some years or something like that."
Yeah, yeah. I will say I was so wrapped up in the story and just the aesthetic of it all, and I was having such a good time. I let my guard down because not spoiling anything, but there are some twists that do come out at the end. And I was just blown away. I wasn't even thinking like Fallout was going to have twists in its stories, but here we are. Matt, I think you had pieced it together.
I did, and it's unfortunate I pieced it together. I don't want to get into too much of it, but if you like you work in the real world, you'll see what I'm talking about. And if you know what I'm talking about, drop a comment and let me know.
Right. Well, now once it happened, like obviously it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense on what, how those puzzle pieces fell together. But I guess I really wasn't thinking that deeply about the narrative, and I didn't think it was going to have such a big reveal. I just thought, and I guess this is shame on me because this is based off a video game. I'm thinking like, man, this probably isn't going to be any deeper than surface level. And no, it definitely had layers. And I really enjoyed when the little girl meets the ghoul and she said, who asked, who are you? And he said, oh, I'm you. I'm exactly who you are. Just give it a little time. And just to see her journey from the first episode of saying okie dokie to people to being full out, where she ends up, it's just like, wow, yeah, it's the real world, I guess, changes people,
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun show. It was a great show. It's definitely a stream for me. Frank, would say you?
Absolutely a stream for me. I was actually mad that it was over and it was only 8 episodes. I want more. And I will say good for Amazon because they're like hit or miss. Like sometimes they'll go week by week with their episode drops. No, they dropped this all at once, and that was delightful.
That was a big topic. People were wondering why they did that, and I thought the same thing because they'll release one a week,
Right.
uh, and like you said, their shows are really hit or miss. And this was I was surprised how good this was.
Yeah, I honestly I have recommended it to a lot of people. I know one of our listeners, my boss, he was more into the games than I was, and I had told I was able to watch it and finish it before him, and I told him straight up I was like, you have to watch it, and he finished it pretty quickly, and he agreed. He thought like this it was a solid recommendation. But even if you didn't play the video game, because Matt, you didn't play the video game, did you? And you really enjoyed it. So look at that. And that's what and The Last of Us did this too. If you're going to adapt a video game, like you got to make it accessible for everyone, but still keep the spirit of why it was fun for the gamers to begin with. Like this is how you do it. Keep this up, Hollywood.
All right, and then we get to the cream of the crop.
The cream always rises to the top.
We're gonna level up here. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and we're talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We both could not wait for this to come out.
We've been talking about it for like a year.
I mean, like the pacing of this franchise is just perfect.
It really is. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. It is so good. I mean, Frank, you had your tickets, you pre-ordered them for, the release weekend. I had not done so, right? And I was gonna kind of play it by ear and like hold out, and I couldn't do it. I was like, I know this is gonna be a great movie. It's gonna be good. I like the other ones, and man, am I glad I went.
Yeah, I honestly at the time of this recording, I was able to go see it twice. And I typically, I used to go to movies twice all the time, but then you have a kid and just it doesn't work out that way. You're lucky to go see it once, right?
Yeah.
But because my wife wanted to go see it and we had gone, and then I had an old student reach out to me who, when I used to teach a film class and I showed some of the Planet of the Apes movies, he reached out and asked, would you want to go see together? We went last night. I don't know, I saw it the first time in IMAX, which was fantastic. It was honestly superb. But I then saw it on a regular screen last night. I enjoyed it equally both times. And the second time, not that there's like a whole lot of like twists or turns in the story. There is a little bit of a twist at the end, not a big one, but I was able to catch more, and I didn't realize that that they were revealing things almost immediately. I thought just great. Matt and I have been complaining throughout the whole, I think, 19 episodes of this podcast that the last couple of years, the visual effects in movies have been absolute garbage. And we're like, why? Well, I have the answer. All of the visual effects people were working on this movie. I honestly I swear to God, like I forgot the gorillas were CGI. They are so real in this movie. And they've been real in the last couple of movies too, but they spared no expense with the visual effects in this movie.
Yeah, they're pretty good. And I was even telling Frank, when I first saw it, I was like, we joke all the time about not enough action. I was like, there's a perfect balance of action and story in this movie, and
Right.
I truly felt every emotion that they wanted you to feel through
Yeah.
every scene of this movie.
I just, just the subtleties of the way that they do this technology with the motion capture for the actors to create these performances of the apes. It just, I thought it was good back in 2000. I thought it was like could get no better in 2011 with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which kicked off this rebooted franchise. It has gotten better with each movie, and it just was mind blowing, like how great they started and how much better it is now. I think one of the best things that I saw is, and it's in the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler. The villain of the movie is like, "What a wonderful day!" And he says it twice, and on the second time, like you can see like the spittle come out of his mouth, and like there's like a line of spit connecting between the two teeth, and it just is so real. I was just blown away by it. I was just like, how is this? How is this computer?
Yeah, so to give you guys a little bit of idea of where this one takes place. So this is generations after Caesar,
Three
right?
hundred years. It's three
Yeah,
hundred years.
the original. It says many generations, Frank. They don't give a number.
I read online. Deal with it.
I read online. You read so much.
I do. You're just mad that I can read.
I wait for the movie. I'm in and out in 2 hours.
Anyway, get to your explanation.
So this is generations after Caesar has passed away, and basically, what you learn is obviously the apes rule the world at this point, right? And you're learning that there are different clans of apes, and the clan that Frank is talking about is they're like extremists, like Caesar believers. Like they take everything like to the absolute extreme for things he said, and in a lot of ways misrepresent it. There is a clan, really it's one remaining ape who like truly understands and knows what Caesar was about and what his vision was for the apes. And then the other main character ape in the movie, he's part of the eagle clan. They train eagles.
And they have no idea about Caesar at all.
Yeah, they don't know anything about him, right? They live in their own little world. They train their little eagles, right?
Uh,
So
Anytime when they used the eagles and the eagle showed up, or like they put their arm out and the eagle would land, I couldn't help but think like, how Dune's like desert power. I was like, eagle power.
what is Cobra Kai?
Yeah,
What is-
guys. But the thing about it too is, I think, and there's a good story that happens in this movie. But I think the best part, just like any other of the really well done Planet of the Apes movies are, it just kind of is like a comment on society, not in a bad way. It's just like we have this messiah figure that did a lot of things, and now it's many generations, 300 years to be exact. Thank you, internet. Um, and these people weren't there to witness it. So it's just like, okay, I heard this story, but this is how I'm going to warp the story to fit my needs, my benefits, and try to, like the villains, they're the extremists. They're trying to they're using Caesar's message to strike fear and take control. Whereas the other clan that is essentially down to one, he is just like, he's basically like this monk, and he was probably my favorite character in the movie. I think his name was Raka. um, I thought he had a lot of funny moments, and there's humor in the movie too, which typically there is humor in these Planet of the Apes movies. But I just thought it was cool to see how the apes were now either just seeing what the interpretation of what happened with Caesar was, and how they were utilizing the messages and things like that. I thought that it created a really good drama.
and what I really like that they've done with these movies is that the apes, they're showing the evolution of them
Yeah.
each movie. So like in this one, they're actually speaking.
Yeah.
right? Which I think in a lot of the other ones they were still signing. They still sign in this one too, but there's a lot more language being done.
The first time the apes communicate with each other is sign language. And I will admit, I was like, this is many generations later. Why are we still sign language? But then after like the first sign language, they start talking. I was like, okay. And then they do it like maybe 3 more times throughout the movie. So I bet by the next movie, there probably won't be sign language at all.
Well, yeah, and even the English is broken,
Yeah.
right? Like it's not like full sentences, things like that. Like they're piecing words together. Like they know how to get the point across. But like that's what I've really enjoyed with this is they're really showing how like they're evolving, and that's kind of what this movie is about. Is they're trying to even evolve even faster, right? And I'm not going to give anything away, but that's kind of like what this villain is looking to do.
Right. And yeah, I liked how the Eagle clan they're essentially like Native Americans. They were Indians. I thought that was really cool. I loved I'm typically not one to really go all in on like the long shot that keeps going and going and going. Like the biggest example I'll give is at the beginning of Spectre, where it's like one continuous shot. I think that's just a little redundant and just like, I don't know, a little self indulgent. But in this movie, there are a few scenes where it's utilized greatly to show what has happened to the surrounding world and how the buildings are completely overgrown with plants and trees and things like that. And they do it to establish the scenery. And it's a beautiful movie to look at. And I really can't wait. I love the story. I love the characters. And I also think, just like any good TV show, according to Matt and I, they do the right thing. They plant the seeds for the next movie. There's a certain degree of setup for the next one. You kind of have an idea where it's going to go next. And to be honest, I want the next movie tomorrow. Like I wish I could wake up and go see the next movie.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I wish I could just watch, the next one right now. Yeah, because I really like where it's going. I thought they've done a great job bringing this franchise back to life, and I just can't wait to see what they do next with it.
I think it was smart too, that because the Andy Serkis Caesar trilogy was done in 2017, I think it was a smart move to keep it in the same continuity, but also it's like, all right, we're gonna do a big time jump. So it's still the same world. It's still, this they're still talking about the same characters, not spoiling anything, but they certain things from the original trilogy are brought over, some symbolism, things like that. It's really fun to pick out, but it's not to a point where it's at nauseum where you're watching like a Disney Star Wars movie. It's like, oh, that's original trilogy. Oh, that's the prequel trilogy. That like you only get like one or two throughout, but it's just a nice nod. And I thought they struck a really great balance all around. I wouldn't say it's a perfect movie, but boy, I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, and like Frank said, like I saw this stat too, and I think Frank, I even may have sent you like the photo, but like each one of these has gotten a better Rotten Tomato score like
Yeah,
as they release. So like that just goes to tell you that a lot of the audience who are watching these films, they feel the same way. They've just gotten better and better, as they've gone on. So
right.
it's definitely a stream for me, Frank.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I will watch Planet of the Apes. It's so fun. I'm not trying to bring the party down or anything, but the lady who is essentially my grandmother who introduced me to this franchise when I was a little kid, she unfortunately passed away last year. And this is the first time that one of these new movies have come out that I can't talk to her about it. So I guess you'll have to do, Matt. But it just is what made me feel happy about it was, it's just like I will now be able to be that person that she was to me, introduce my son or someone that I know to these movies, and it just keep going. And obviously this franchise has been around since the 60s, so I don't think it's going anywhere. I think even if this current franchise burns out, I think they'll bring it back eventually again. And these movies are just endlessly fun to revisit and talk about and watch. And I catch something new every time, and I'm always taken aback with these newer ones because it's just they've added a great deal of gravitas to it, and it's the Caesar trilogy is certainly Shakespearean in its own way, and this movie doesn't quite hit the emotional impact of the Caesar movies yet, but it easily could. Rise of the Planet of the Apes wasn't like this emotional journey like the second and third one were. So this one has a very strong start with a lot of room to grow. And I know I'm rambling, but I loved it. And
Yeah,
we'll go with
you need
Frank.
to just stop. Yeah, we need to cut you off, Frank. We only
I'll
have so
cut
much.
you off. Shut up. Just end the show already.
I am the master. All right, you are the Padawan.
You are no master. You're an assistant to the mister, who's not even the boss. Okay. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing this.
I'm mind tricking you right
Hey,
now.
listen. This is not the droid you're looking for.
So yeah, go see Kingdom for the Planet of the Apes or Of the Planet of the Apes. It's definitely a stream for both of us. Go see it, if not for us, for Caesar.
For Caesar.
Well, that's going to do it for us all here today. Catch us next time. Same streaming time, same streaming platform.